What's the one thing you wish you knew at 19?
If I could talk to my 19-year-old self, I'd just say, hey, you know, you're gonna date just like a normal 20-something should be allowed to, but you're going to be a national lightning rod for slut shaming.
Honestly, if you have to pick one priority, that's the fans.
But in a business sense, it also just makes sense.
I found that kind of a general rule is that if you do the right thing, a lot of times that pans out in a business sense. If you start out trying to do things in a business sense, a lot of times it falls flat on its face. But I feel like if you start out with the right intentions and you want to do the right thing, that usually works out.
Spoke to Bill Werde, editorial director of Billboard.
Maybe if she looked different, like let's say she wasn't young and cute, I think people would be talking about her as a great songwriter.
So you think that the persona and the fan base and all that almost diminishes?
Yeah, I definitely think it does. You know, I think that it's hard for critics to look at an arena full of screaming 12-year-old girls and say, this is really credible songwriting.
But you say it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt.
Like a major corporation.
Taylor Swift is a major corporation.
And who's at the helm? Look who we found running the management meeting.
It's like they messed with the color.
Unlike other stars of her caliber who sign up with management companies, Taylor created her own. As CEO, she manages herself.
It's fine because it's subtle.
Taylor's success is based on her close relationship with her fans. They're called Swifties. They see themselves in her, and she sees herself in them.
Your fans feel so personal about you. I mean, you're the only one I know who invites people back into your house. Do you still do that?
Yeah. I decided that I wanted to play this entire album for the fans long before it came out. I wanted it to be like this little secret society gatherings in living rooms, and so I decided to have them in my houses.
We had 89 fans waiting in the living room. My boss played them the entire 1989 record.
Hey, guys! Hey, guys!
I want to come up with as many ways that we can spend time together and bond, because it keeps me normal. It keeps my life feeling manageable.
Is your life at all normal?
No.
No.
Not at all. And that's why when I go online and I go on Instagram and I see, you know, a post from Emma who lives in Philadelphia and she's talking about how her day was at school that day, that helps me.
You still do that?
It's the only thing that keeps me not feeling overwhelmed by the abnormality of my life.
Have you got to a place where you don't care what people say about you?
More so than ever before. I don't think anyone actually ever really gets to a place where they do not care what anyone thinks. I just I've learned how to write off the opinions of people who don't matter to me.
Can you do anything? You use the word normal, so I'll use it. Can you do anything like a normal person? Can you go out for a coffee? Can you go shopping? Or is everything an event with tons of paparazzi following you?
Anything outside my house or my apartment doesn't ever really feel normal. I try so hard to make it normal because I don't engage, like if I'm being followed by a camera crew and all these paparazzi, they know that I don't want to have the conversation. And in New York, they're very respectful of that. Like they just take their pictures and they say thank you and they leave. I don't want to make it into a press conference. My friends wouldn't want that either. But in my apartment, in my house, we can bake, we can make dinner, we can dance, we can do whatever we want. It's just that it's just a fact that when I'm outside the doors of my apartment, people are watching me, and that's the life that I chose.
And you're okay with it?
I have days where I am, days where I'm not. You know, like I don't think anyone has a solid stance on any way that they feel. Like it's like saying, are you happy every day? You know, I mean, sometimes it feels absolutely stifling and overwhelming, to be honest with you. But most of the time I'm able to go through the mental exercise where I just say to myself, how many years did you want this? how many years did you dream about this? How many times did you say to yourself that if you ever got famous, you would walk up to people in restaurants and introduce yourself if they were trying to take a picture of you? Like, I always used to say when I was a little kid, like, if I ever got to do this, I would make the most of it, and I would try to do good things with it, and I wouldn't be all weird and affected by it. So it's not a normal life. I think it's only honest that I admit that to myself. But there are ways that I can still act normal amongst all of it.
Taylor Swift. She's such a great
she's ridiculous
songwriter,
talent.
right? And a great talent. But how were you able to...
She's a savant, I think. I mean, it goes beyond talented. She's a savant. She sent me a voice memo. We did 2 songs. We did Welcome to New York, which was track 1, and then we did oh my God, No Places. I'm forgetting the name of the other song. Something in the Places. Something Places. Her fans are gonna kill me for this. It's like track 10, I think it was. Anyway, she sent me voice memos, like in the morning, like here's me on a piano. Here's how I'm hearing this, and then literally I'd walk in and I would have it mocked up, kind of, and then we just would bang it out. I would help with the melodies a little bit, and kind of, with Taylor, you function more as an editor. She has a million ideas, and you're more like, this one, not that one, because she's so good. She kind of almost doesn't need you in the room, but for production, I think she is when she really relies on. So for Taylor, you're more producing than just writing stuff. She can write everything by herself.
I mean, Taylor is Taylor. I mean, she's the most amazing thing about it is she's so consistent in who she is. Her imaging may be changing depending on what the thematics of the art is that she's producing, but the person remains the same. There's a core person there that is really a fantastic human being, and also someone that I really connect with on a creative level. She has input on everything. There's no such thing as a director that goes in there and just does it. It doesn't work that way, you know. It's funny how people always accuse her, like the biggest insult anyone throws at her is that she's manipulative. What does that mean, you know? As an artist, because you know what your clothes you want to wear, you know what edits you want to make, you know what setups are, you know what the theme of every idea is, you know what your lyrics are. Like, is that manipulative or is that just being smart? And why her of all the artists? How can you be a manipulative person and also be a construct of a record company at the same time? Right. If anything, she's actually kind of been working outside of the mainstream pop world for the longest time. She's a country star and still has the mechanisms of Nashville. And you know, one of the things they always say is that she bought a record label or something. I don't really understand where all this is going, except it's just kind of an ad hominem attack on any particular thing, trying to find anything. Bottom line, great person, smart, an artist.
So I wanted to start with a song that I wrote actually as kind of a response to, in the last couple of years, the media have had a really wonderful fixation on kind of painting me as like the psycho serial dater girl. It's been awesome. I loved it. And they're like, you know, it got pretty out of control there for a couple of years, because it would be like every article was like, Taylor Swift standing near some guy. Watch out, guy. And, you know, every single article was kind of like, had these descriptions of my personality that were very different from the actual personality. And my first reaction was to be like, man, that's a bummer. This isn't fun for me. But then my second reaction ended up being like, hey, that's actually kind of a really interesting character they're writing about. Like, she jet sets around the world collecting men, and she can get any of them, but she's so clingy that they leave, and she cries, and then she gets another one in her web, and she traps them and locks them in her mansion, and then she's crying in her marble bathtub surrounded by pearls. So I was like, I can use this. So the song Blank Space is a song that I wrote a little bit from sort of a comedic perspective. I try to stay pretty self-aware about, you know, who I actually am, and also pretty aware of what the media's depiction of me is. And so I've seen all the different, you know, rumors that have come and gone, and it's kind of developed over the years. It's developed into this reputation for being somewhat of a crazy serial dater, needy, clingy, manipulative person. And so I was thinking a lot about that. I was thinking thinking about that reputation, and I just thought, you know what, like, what if I was that girl? What song would I write? So I wrote Blank Space. Like, if you want to play this way, like, we can play this way. I had a lot of people who would say, oh, she's an 18-year-old girl, there's no way that she actually carried her weight in those writing sessions. And that was a really harsh criticism, I felt, because, you know, there was no way I could prove them wrong other than to write my entire next record solo. So that's what I did.
What's maybe one thing people don't know about her that you can kind of say with working with her so closely?
I think she's one of the most genuine people that I've ever worked with. You know, I actually have to, people always ask me, like, do I have to like the artist? Do I like the song? Do I have to like what, you know, I just have to like all of it to do a video these days. And she's actually one of the nicest, sweetest, awesome, strong combination of everything. It's like kind of freakish how amazing she is.
In some ways, are you writing all the time?
Yes, all the time. I wrote a new one like 2 days ago.
Wow.
It doesn't matter like if I'm preparing for a record or if I'm about to put one out. Writing is just a way that I just live and I write about the way that I'm living.
And if you were to write a song about your love life right now, happy song, sad song?
I don't really talk about my love life. I kind of sing about it a lot because I really think that it sounds more poetic and romantic with music behind it.
And it's more true to you in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's like, you know, my fans know that I'm going to give them the real version of what happened to me in my music. And they know that, you know, what they read on blogs or gossip sites or whatever may or may not be true. And they can kind of tell, like, if it's true or not because they know me.
Do you ever hear from these people who maybe recognize themselves in a song and are like, hi, guess what? I really didn't appreciate that.
Well, they don't say it that gracefully or that with that kind of an eloquent tone. If they're not liking what's written about them or what they think is written about them or what they assume and presume is about them, I probably hit the nail right on the head. It's probably really true.
She's taken a bit of a rousing for her aw shucks enthusiasm. It was spoofed by Blake Shelton at this year's Academy of Country Music Awards.
You know, I actually saw where Taylor is going to be coming out with her own perfume. It's actually called... I can't believe I smell this good.
Now Taylor Swift is here. And even by Kristen Wiig on Saturday Night Live. So that look that you give, that I won look.
People make so much fun of me for that. And I don't know, like, it's like if you win an award, isn't that crazy? Like, isn't that crazy? How do you sit there and be like, oh, another Grammy. I guess I'm gonna go get that now.
Shake it off, shake it off. Players gotta play, 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 play. Haters gotta hate, 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 hate. So the question is, what is Taylor Swift shaking off? What is that? It means different things to different people.
It does, and that's my favorite thing about this song. I wanted to make a song that would help people get through their day. All these girls that I talk to online on Instagram or Tumblr or Twitter, the things that they're going through are parallel to what I go through, just on a different scale. When someone spreads a rumor that isn't true about a girl I'm talking to on Instagram, it's the same feeling of humiliation that I get when I'm checking out of the grocery store and I see something untrue written about me on a magazine.
I'm curious about that feeling. How do you handle it? Because you're in the tabloids a lot.
I think I probably handle it the same way that you handle it, which is you just laugh at it.
Yeah.
At a certain point.
I do now, but I didn't in the beginning.
That's exactly how it was for me. You start off and you're very personally offended by it and you're wounded by it. And you think it's personal when really, it's honestly a money thing.